You know that feeling when you look in the mirror, and for just a split second, you don't quite recognize the person looking back? Well, it turns out we're doing that all the time online. We're going to dive into how that digital reflection we create isn't just a picture, it's actually changing who we are.
So let's just start with a really simple personal question. Think about your profile picture right now. You know, the one with the perfect lighting, the great angle, the practiced smile. Is that you, or is it a carefully designed version of you built for everyone else to see? This one question, it gets right to the heart of how technology is reshaping our sense of self.
Because let's be honest, every post, every photo, every single word in our bio is an act of curation. It's like we're the directors of a museum all about ourselves. We pick the best exhibits, polish them up, and put them on display in the grand gallery of me. We've gone way beyond just living our lives. Now we're actively designing how they're seen.
But here's the thing. This curation isn't happening in a bubble. The tools we use, our phones, our apps, they're not just passive platforms. They're active players in this whole game. And that brings us to our first big idea, the mirror that edits. We're going to look at how the very silicon in our hands is helping to shape who we become.
It's so easy to think of our phones and laptops as just windows, right? They're these passive portals we look through to see the world. But what if that's the wrong metaphor entirely? What if they're not windows at all? What if they're actually mirrors? And even crazier, what if they're mirrors that can edit the reflection in real time?
And that's the central idea we're digging into today, the digital mirror. It's this concept where technology doesn't just show us our identity, it actively reshapes it. With every like, every comment, every share, it's providing feedback, it's listening, it's responding, and it's subtly tweaking how we see ourselves.
This quote just nails it perfectly. Our tech has this dual role. It's a reflection, sure, it shows us a version of ourselves, but it's also a catalyst. It literally sparks change in our real-world character. So it's not just a passive piece of glass, it's an active engine for personal change.
So, if this mirror is also an engine, what does that do to the reflection it's showing us? Well, things can get a little warped. And this leads us to what some might call a warped reflection, this growing divide between the two selves we all seem to inhabit these days.
This table just lays it out so clearly. Look at the offline self on the left. We're messy, we're complex, contradictory, spontaneous, human. We experience vulnerability, but then look at our online self. That self is curated to be perfectly coherent. It's polished. It always projects strength. It doesn't just exist, it performs for an audience.
And this is where the real pressure starts to build. We're constantly trying to manage these two different people, the authentic, complicated you and the shiny, performed you. And trying to bridge that gap, it can be absolutely exhausting and leave us feeling totally inauthentic.
So, how exactly does this online performance start to change who we are in the real world? To really get that, we need to look under the hood at the psychological engine that's driving this whole transformation. It's all about the character we build and this powerful feedback loop.
It all works through something called the identity feedback loop. It's a pretty simple four-step process. First, performance. We put that idealized version of ourselves out there. Second, feedback. The platform and our friends reward us with likes and positive comments. Third, reinforcement. Our brain gets a nice little chemical hit from that social validation. And finally, and this is the absolute key, adaptation. Our real-world offline self begins to subtly shift to become more like that successful online character. It's a subconscious drive to close that gap we were just talking about. And that's a pretty powerful and maybe slightly scary transformation. The mask we wear online can slowly start to merge with our actual face. The character we play on screen begins to write the script for the person we become in real life. The performance solidifies into our personality.
Okay, so this whole feedback loop has some pretty profound consequences. It forces us to ask some really big, really tough questions about what it means to be real in a world that's increasingly run by code. And that's what we're going to explore in this final section, the search for authenticity in the age of the algorithm.
I mean, just think about the challenges of living this way. There's this constant pressure to perform, to be on all the time. The very idea of social connection is being completely redefined. That line between public and private, it's basically been erased. Our self-worth can get dangerously tied to what an algorithm thinks of us. So it begs the question, in a world that is so perfectly curated, what does being authentic even mean anymore?
So what's the big takeaway here?
Is technology evil? Of course not. The absolute crucial point is simply awareness. It's understanding that this digital mirror has incredible power. Yes, it can distort our reflection, it can create pressure and anxiety, but, and this is important, if we're conscious of how it works, it can also be a tool to reveal things. It can show us our aspirations, our values, and maybe even the person we really want to be.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on, right back where we started. I want you to take another look at that person in your profile picture and ask yourself honestly, is that person just a reflection of who you are? Or is it slowly, maybe without you even noticing, becoming a replacement? The answer to that question might just define the next chapter of who you are.